Hey YouTube, welcome back. This is the second video that we're putting up for this unofficial build contest. We are giving out gift subs to people who submit their builds to the unofficial build contest. And Twitch chat is going to help me decide on which build is the sweetest. So we've got 3 build submissions today. So before we look at the build, the unique item that we built around this week was Shadow String. So Shadow String doesn't have much text on it. It's got some generic % increased critical strike chance. It's a bow, which means you get to use a quiver as well. It has generic base crit as the implicit. So it's not bow critical strike chance, but it's +2 to 3 base critical strike chance. So that could be for a throwing attack as well. We have +1 charge for shift, which means that maybe you could keep up uptime, or maybe have more shifts, or have more shadow cascades, or keep uptime of jade stacks, or maybe do something over here with shadow daggers. So that's one possibility you can take it. Just as a quick note, this does say melee weapon, but it works with a bow. And this down in the bottom right, proccing Shadow Cascade, it says melee weapon, but it works with a bow. So I kind of like using both of these with a bow. Yeah, it's technically a bug, but it's sweet. So this is the rule of fun. If it's fun, it doesn't feel OP. To me, this is a totally fine bug to be taking advantage of. So the rest of Shadow String, we got some ward generation stuff on Shift and Smoke Bomb, but +1 charge for Smoke Bomb as well. So you might see some people using Smoke Bomb to apply ignites. You might see some people using it for shadow generation and then using shadows for different stuff as well. You might see it for mobility, doing some backflips, maybe applying some various stacks over here, maybe even with some shadow daggers or poison chance up here. So having more uptime of the buffs from Smoke Bomb and from Shift is one way to take advantage of this bow. Using it along with a quiver, maybe getting the Glancing Blow quiver, Arrow Guard is a possibility. Those are a couple things that you could try doing with Shadow String. I asked people to type up a couple lines of text to let me know what was going on in their build. I said a video would be great, but the video is not required at all. So this is somebody playing Cold Crit Umbral Blades with the Shadow String. Let's take a look. Got some volume going on. So this person's using an Exsanguinous. They're throwing out blades and they're recalling them. It looks like the recall is part of the rotation. So they're not doing recall on shift or anything. They have 900 ward. What? This is, how much corruption? This is like 120 corruption or so? With 1,000 ward? Monka Mega. Okay. I guess if you're a Blade Dancer, you have 25% reduced damage taken. 25% less damage taken, not reduced. But this is a cold converted crit throwing damage build. So it's not Shadow Daggers, right? Because remember, Shadow Daggers with Umbral Blades only works if you're wielding a dagger. And then it only works if you have the Blade Storm node. Let's see, health, endurance, monsters have health. Like, their damage looks good, right? It's like 120 corruption with a whole bunch of tanky mods. Looks fine. Oh, wow, there's more, too. I guess we'll watch this. Why not? So this is the build. They said, this is the current version of my Shadow String build. There is much to change given more time to farm and replacing certain pieces. But for an overview, I wanted to make a low life throwing damage crit build using Shadow String because of the low life nodes in Blade Dancer that provide base crit. Those nodes, so let's go take a look at those nodes real quick. The nodes in Blade Dancer base crit, these nodes right here, it's generic +24 base, which puts you at 29 base for any of your skills. Those nodes combined with a nearly 200% critical strike chance and the base crit from Shadow String sets your crit for all abilities at about 100% while you're at low life. So you don't need to stack up crit vulnerability or anything. However, obviously we're using a bow and we're Blade Dance with the low life pieces, so you can't reasonably go melee or bow for damage, but you can use most throwing skills for a neat crit setup. So this person did a low life rogue build, Blade Dancer, built around the throwing damage with Umbral Blades converted to cold and taking the third throw as well. Do they have the fire damage stuff? They have fire damage stuff here, the cursed prefix. And it looks like they also have tier 6 here. So one neat thing is this this node here It converts all base damage and added damage. So normally conversions in Last Epoch are kind of weird. Sometimes they convert the base, sometimes they convert the added, sometimes they only do one but not both. But this is one of the few cases, along with something like Detonating Arrow, where it converts the base damage and all added damage. So that's pretty neat. This node might be bugged, but as written, it's neat. I like it. They said we took the nodes for more damage on recall as well as with Dusk Shrouds, and later on I leaned heavily into Dusk Shrouds because they're so strong defensively and can be stacked with Smoke Bomb for a lot of damage. While I was leveling Umbral Blades, actually does a lot of hit damage. I got the Shadow String and Exsanguinous early on, so I was low life around level 65. It was an immediate average damage boost in monos, however, not against bosses, because I normally took quite a few throws at an enemy before the crit started with crit vulnerability, whereas low life you get the immediate crit multi damage. It was sketchy for a while and I never had more than 40% ward retention, which I don't recommend, but it was pretty safe because of the mobility of the 2 shifts and smoke bombs. I did have to wear Chains of Uleros, this belt here with some health on it, as a requirement because my potions would heal me and they would turn off my defense and my crit chance, which is hilarious and sad. So I guess they didn't like that Chains of Uleros was here. Interesting. You can technically use that amulet as well, right? I forget what it's called. It's a it's one that says like your potions do nothing, you can't heal, you can't leave. Zathara's Conundrum. Technically, this could be a route as well, but then you lose all the damage affixes from your amulet. Interesting. They said, overall, I'm happy with the build because I got to use all the text on Shadow String to great effect, which is quite fun to throw Umbral Blades and feel like a machine gun. On the gearing front, I would change a lot. The offenses were good, but the defenses for low life were not up to par. Yeah, I see that they're using an Exsanguinous, and they're not using Morning Frost, which would give them more damage, and they're also not using Last Step of the Living, which is normally what you see combined with Exsanguinous to get a bunch of ward, right? I would likely get to 150 ward retention with Heribor's Ring and dropping the Usanoi's Sphere. Interesting. God, that's a lot of damage on the Usanoi's Sphere. Cool. I guess you can use this because you need your intelligence and your attunement to be equal, and a rogue doesn't build intelligence or attunement, so you can always get that proc and get extra cold damage. That's kind of cute. I feel like a normal version of this build without low life and all the crit vulnerability nodes would be much stronger realistically, but there's something to say for an extra charge on shift and smoke bomb that might make me prefer this Shadow String version of it. I enjoyed the weekend. I'll play this build some more for sure. What's this amulet doing? Dexterity, cold, chill, bleed. So this this quiver here could have been like an LP arrow guard instead, which would help them cap their glancing blows. I like the 1000 ward. It's like you really don't get much ward retention, right? Especially like they're not even using Frostbite Shackles to like cheese ward retention by stacking up cold res. The second build submission, it's actually a video uploaded by Epoch Builds. You might know him as Dread from Epic Builds. We're going to watch this on stream, but I think I'm going to fast forward past this for the video. So let's go ahead and watch this here. He's like, here's the video. Here's my build submission. You fucking guy. All right. It's 20 minutes, but we're going to speed it up. Go.
But there exists a bow called Shadow String. It is insanely remarkable, as a bow with no text would normally be scoffed upon in most cases. But this situation is different.
All right, so here we are after having watched the video. We watched it at 2x speed, and it was incredibly impressive. So we had to slow it back down to normal speed to figure out exactly how impressive it was. So here's the build that Epoch Builds. Dread submitted this for the unofficial build contest here. We have a Shadow String Puncture Shadow Dagger build. And the TLDR is that we, I guess, so offensively, we're using the 2 charges from Smoke Bomb to apply Shadow Daggers there, and that will apply a couple stacks of Shadow Daggers, and then we're using Puncture to finish off enemies. The brunt of our flat damage, because Shadow Daggers only care about melee and throwing, come from stacking up Dexterity from Morning Frost, and I guess scaling Crit Multi would be the other bit of it. We're cold damage, so we get to use... This is the second build we've seen with Usanoi's Sphere, which is interesting. So we get to use this, and again, we only have 1 intelligence, 1 attunement, so that's pretty cute. We have Crit Multi on our Shadow String. It's super cool. And then defensively, we have a low health, high endurance threshold build. So our endurance threshold is probably about 600 or so, but we only have 1,000 life. So the reason that's interesting is kind of like a Fractured Crown, Mind Over Matter, Damage Dealt to Mana for Health style build. When your health is very low, but your endurance threshold covers your entire health, any kind of recovery that you have is amplified by the damage reduction applied by endurance. So for this particular build, that comes from health gained when you receive a glancing blow. Do I think this is good? Dread complained a lot about getting stunned, which, so being stunned is a function of how much damage you're receiving relative to your health pool, and it doesn't care about your endurance threshold. So anytime that you're doing something like this, you really got to care about your stuns. So I know that was frustrating for Dread here. As a proof of concept, it's adorable, and I love it. As something that I would willingly do, no. I think I would not do this. But let's take a look at the rest of the gear. We've throwing damage, damage over time. Damage over time doesn't do anything, right? Yeah, nothing at all. We wish we had dexterity on these gloves, of course. Let's take a look at the Blade Dancer skill tree. This is something that I actually really don't like. And I suppose I get it, but we have 1 point here in apostasy for 1 out of 1. It says you can't dodge, but double your dodge chance, not your dodge rating, but your dodge chance gets converted into glancing blow chance. So he's using this in order to get as much glancing blow chance as possible, where like you could use like an LP arrow guard, which it's a common drop and it's a low level item. This is what I would rather be using. And like, I'm a hardcore player. I get it, but like, man, I love using arrow guard on all my bow characters. So using something like that would make it much easier to feel good about your glancing blow chance. So the downside of this is you take 2 layers of defense and you combine them into 1 layer of defense. So dodge chance, especially when you have a super low life total, would be great because it would help mitigate the stuns, right? But I guess we're using this, and all right, it is what it is, but I don't like this node. I try not to take this node as much as possible. So that's my 2 cents on it. So for puncture, we have all of the attack speed here. We don't need to spec into more multipliers. It's not important for us because it's not puncture dealing damage. Okay, I guess this is what you do with your smoke bomb when you're speccing it for damage. So he wants maximum duration. He needs all these points to get over here to Shadow Dagger chance on slow. And then he's shooting it with a, so it's not point blank. He's like shooting it at the enemy. And then he wants the starting area as big as possible. Does that mean that he can't get a Silver Shroud? Man, this node here is the first node that I always take in smoke. I'll go like 1, 2, 3, and then I figure out the rest of what I'm doing. And he's also not taking rapid concealment. I guess he's not standing in the smoke bombs because he's using them offensively. He can't dodge. Oh my god, he can't dodge because he's using apostasy. Does apostasy prevent Silver Shroud? Does not prevent dodging with Silver Shroud. I mean, it's definitely a good use of Shadow String, right? Like this is not a build that I would want to play without a Shadow String. Like having double smoke bomb, having double shift, right? Maybe like getting exalted attack speed on this would be cool as well. But like if I were going to do this, first of all, I would go like 4,000 health if I could. And then I would be using a arrow guard instead because that's the kind of coward that I am when I play hardcore. Yeah, we got a video. Okay, here's build number 3. Ready? Build number 3. Okay, audio, I see that. Build number 3 is a Cinder Strike Umbral Blades character, scaling Umbral Blades from the oil coating of Cinder Strike and massive amounts of Dust Shrouds. So we've got 37 seconds worth of a video here. Let's take a look. Oh, this is like a damage. Okay, so it's like 7,000. Tick, 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 tick. 6, 5, 7, 7, 6. 7, 7, 7. Okay. And then the shooting down. We have 18 stacks of oil coating. So then the 7s turn into like 30. Okay, so if we have oil coating up, our damage goes from about 7,000 crits to like 32,000 crits. All right, and then this is with a lot of arrows. This looks like a bossing setup. Let's see. Smoky bomb. You stack them up. Is that 500,000? Holy shit. Wait, okay. So we have, I saw 36 or 40 dust shrouds because we pick up an arrow, shoot cinder strike, pick up an arrow, shoot cinder strike. And we can stack up all those black arrows because each one we pick up gives us 5, is it? I think it's 5 dust shrouds. And then we have 13 oil coating. Good lord. Okay, cool. Cool, I like it. I was told that there was a second video here as well. Let's take a look at this. Click. It's a 6-minute video. Go on. This is 2... This... I was trying to say something. This is 2 defensive modifiers. And 100% more health and damage. So it's a Cinder Strike build that uses Umbral Blades. It's kind of like a decoy bomber. It's kind of like the Kelton Blasting Agent build. Oh, looks like there's more. Okay, let's watch. It kind of looks like the Kelton Blasting Agent. But instead of using the Kelton Blasting Agent, we're just like... I think instead of speccing Decoy for damage, we're using the Dark Quiver instead, right? I think that's the major difference of this build. And then we have double Smoke Bomb. We'll have to investigate and see what Smoke Bomb's doing for us. I wonder what Smoke Bomb's doing for us. And then we have to see what Shift is doing for us as well, right? So remember, like, I kind of failed my own build contest. Or I guess, like, Vision's build contest for using the Shadow String as well as possible. Because, like, my build, I really like my build. I think it's sweet. But I didn't do a good job of justifying the use of the bow. So I'm always, like, keeping in the back of my head, like, who's making a good case for this bow being best in slot? Or at least being super strong. How much more do we have here? Looks like we have some more map clear. Let's see, where is our... What is this? 57 dust shrouds! Alright, you got my attention. It's some good clickbait. Alright, so I'm gonna put this up on screen. And then we'll read through the text, right? It says, originally I thought Shadow String was pretty weak choice for this build. I didn't like the bow. But I've since decided it's almost invaluable. And the reason for that is that Smoke Bomb doubles the more multi per Dust Shroud from 8 to 16 and gives 8 Dust Shrouds in itself, as well as 16% or 160% throwing damage and 8% throwing damage leached. Those could both be more, but I opted for Radius instead. The uptime on Smoke Bomb with tier 6 cooldown recovery speed on the helmet is basically 100%. Black Quiver, dark Quiver. Dark Quiver, Black Arrows, gotcha. Dark Quiver provides most of your shadow generation, as well as huge bursts of Dust Shrouds, 5 to 25 Dust Shrouds when you pick them up, normally. And is auto-cast despite some annoyances. It provides so many shadows, in fact, that I took 2 points out of shadow generation in Smoke Bomb because I was overriding my spinning blades too often with the new shadows. So I think the reason we need shadows is Umbral Blades, this node here, this Umbral Remnant, right? I think this is the payoff, if I'm not mistaken. Oddly, I feel that Shift is probably weaker in this build than most rogue builds, because I can't spec Shurikens or Shadow Cascade or get 100% crit, but it still has a 15% call and mega dodge, and it's still Shift. So it looks like Shift is... It's creating a shadow for us. It's using a potion for us. That's cute. We have 5 out of 5 points in dodge per dexterity for 1 second afterward. And then we're using the bugged node up here. Even though it says melee, we still get this 15% kill threshold. So that's cool. Short video demonstration about the damage scales. Okay, like that. And 7-minute build video. You can just watch the first couple minutes. The second half is with arena no sounds. Okay, gotcha. Cool. All right, so this build looks kind of interesting, doesn't it? I like how this person kind of baits me. They say, like, I think that this bow is invaluable. Because it did look really good. Okay, so we're scaling throwing damage. We're not dealing bow damage, but we do have bow attack speed, so that's good. We have as much cooldown recovery speed on the helmet as possible. We're not using Morning Frost, but we still like dexterity, just because it's a good way to scale offense and defense at the same time. We have our cursed modifier, this fire throwing damage. So it looks like maybe most of our damage is fire damage. Let's see. Physical and fire. Elemental, fire. Crit multi. And then Cinder Strike is giving us a ton of fire damage, right? So we have a level 22 Cinder Strike here. Fire penetration, ignite effects. So we have Fire Shred built into Cinder Strike. Okay, so we put down shadows by picking up an arrow. We put down shadows by putting down Smoke Bomb, and Smoke Bomb generates shadows for us. And then we consume shadow. I guess we're also putting down shadows with shift. And then we consume shadows by holding down right click and attacking with Cinder Strike. And then Cinder Strike gives us throwing damage. And then when we consume a shadow, we're proccing Umbral Blades, which spins around and doesn't explode. Dark Quiver, we're using this node here, Nightfall. And then we also have this, Until Dawn. Using a bow attack grants your chest to summon a black arrow. So even if you're not numlocking or using Dark Quiver, you still spawn a black arrow every once in a while. So that's cute. Arrow frequency minus duration. Then we get Frenzy up here for even more attack speed. Okay, so I see what's going on here. We looked at Shift already. We looked at Umbral Blades. Got a pretty normal looking setup. What's Smoke Bomb doing for us? Smoke Bomb is not giving us a Silver Shroud. Growth speed, radius. So we could drop these 3 points and go like this. But instead we opted for radius and growth speed. So we're trying to make them as big as possible. I guess we want to stand in them, right? Because we want to stand in them for this bonus here. Damage per Dust Shroud. So if we have 57 Dust Shrouds, it's 8% more damage. 8 times 5. So we have like 400% more damage. Is this like 400% more damage? Is this 100% more damage per point? It's 9. What? How much is it? Oh, it's doubled. Oh my god, it's doubled. It's what? Doubled while inside Smoke Bomb. It's 912% more damage. Holy moly. Yeah. All right. I like it. I like it a lot. So that was the third build that we just looked at. We've had a very, very last minute submission. And they said, please don't skip my build. So, what is this? Oh, they said, I don't know what CT stands for. They said they couldn't get their character uploaded for some kind of reason. But I know this person was playing for this past week, so we're going to go ahead and take a look at their build here. Unfortunate that they couldn't share their entire build, but this is the build planner. This is build number 4, so let's read through what they wrote. They said, this is a straightforward build. You stack lots of single attack buffs. So like your next attack does this, your next attack does that. And then you drop some sick hail of arrows on the nerds. Monoliths are simple. You trail monsters behind you with puncture to keep up your busted amounts of bleed, your global bleed stacks. And then you smoke bomb, shift, and drop a hail of arrows to kill things quickly behind you as you walk away. The quiver is only used on bosses / real tanky enemies because quiver Oh, I don't think this quiver. I think they're talking about Dark Quiver. Okay, so Dark Quiver they're only using on bosses. Note, Smoke Bomb consumes your next attack buff. So you cannot shift, Smoke Bomb, and then Hail of Arrows. You need to Smoke Bomb and then shift, walk into the Smoke Bomb, and then Hail of Arrows to get the benefits of it. Smoke Bomb consumes your next attack buffs. Is that a bug? That's got to be a bug, right? Weird. Alright, so let's take a look at their build here. Again, the big thing that I'm looking for is like how well did they actually use Shadow String? So we have the Shadow String. We're going to look for like Shift and Smoke Bomb uptime, like what kind of buffs we have. Sanguine Horde, chance to bleed on hit gained as bleed chance per second with Hail of Arrows. Cool. And then we have Valdir's Chalice there. With Hail of Arrows duration, which is kind of like a more multiplier, and physical damage over time. Got it. So we're using Puncture. We're applying efficacious toxins. We've got this node here. Sure. Is 5 points into efficacious toxins really better than like Fizz Red Shred chance? This is like enemies take 10% increased damage. But like Shred, right? I would probably swap those over. So Shift. Oh wow, we have no shurikens. No invulnerability? Wow. We have no defense from this, no invulnerability here, no mana here, no attack speed, or no movement speed here. Wow, this is so point intensive. Wow, okay, so you have a chance to cause bleeding with your next damaging non-channeled skill. So like, we Smoke Bomb, we Shift, which gives us 150% increased damage, 15% increased damage, 120 bleed chance, and 50% bleed effect, and 50% bleed duration. And it gives us a Jade Arrow, which gives us percent increased damage over time, 125 damage over time. And then we shoot a Hail of Arrows, right? Okay, okay. It's too bad. The duration stuff is normally so good. If you're playing a bow damage Hail of Arrows, what you would do is you would take 2 points here and 1 point here, the Hunt, which gives you more duration. Like, I almost feel like this would be worthwhile anyways, but normally the reason that the Hunt, this node, is so good is that it scales nowhere to hide, bow damage per second, and then like it ramps up the amount of damage, right? But this is only bow damage, so it specifically does not apply to damaging ailments, and this is a bleed build. Huh. Okay, okay. I get it, I get it. And then Dark Quiver, we got some of the same stuff going on here that we saw before. Crit chance applies to damage over time. I was wondering whether somebody was going to try this out. So this Tide of Darkness node in Dark Quiver is one of the ways you can try to justify using Shadow String. So Shadow String has this first line of text that says like up to 211% increased critical strike chance. And no one's really used that particularly well. Most marksmen and blade dancers, if you're trying to deal crit damage, you just rely on crit vulnerability and stacking up crit vulnerability very quickly on the enemy. This build doesn't crit because we're a Valdir's Chalice bleed build, but we still want that percent increased critical strike chance to benefit the Dark Quiver node here. So that's kind of interesting. Okay, okay. And then using a Black Quiver causes your next puncture to bleed and penetrate stuff. Okay, okay, I get it. Interesting stuff. We've had 4 builds, so I guess we're gonna do some voting in Twitch chat right now. Let's go ahead and type this in. We're gonna go / poll. I'm gonna do sweetest build. I will say, having 4 build submissions, it's like twice as many as last time. It's so good. I'm gonna keep doing these. These build submissions are great. Love to see it. So we've got the results from Unofficial Build Contest number 3. Number 2, it's kind of like number 3. And the winner is the 57 Dust Shroud Cinder Strike Extravaganza. So we've got this build right here. We showed it off a moment ago. We've got our as much attack speed as possible, as much throwing damage as possible. We're shredding fire resistance. We're stacking up our Dust Shrouds from Dark Quiver. and we have Umbral Blades that crit for about 7,000. But if our buffs are up, they crit for about 500,000. So congratulations to our very first 2-time winner, Kelvara. I'll be DMing you later on asking whether you want the gift sub or whether you want that to this channel or to VisionGL's channel, or whether you'd like to send that somebody else's way to help them appreciate some of this Twitch good stuff. So again, thank you to all 4 of the people who submitted their builds. I'm going to keep doing this because I think it's so much fun. It's a good chunk of community. It's a good chunk of seeing what other people are doing during the build contest. Once multiplayer comes out, once we have APIs, once we have things to hook into, we're going to have our own P. We're going to have lastepoch.ninja someday. But until then, we're going to keep collecting all of your builds and looking at them right here on stream. So thanks for being here. I appreciate it. I'll see you next time.